a well put together sermon, let me tell you, you are at the wrong place. And members at Blessed Oak Church, you know that I love to do well put together sermons. But today I thought that instead of having a sermon, we should just speak to ourselves. It's a difficult message for me because on it hangs the reason why we are here every Sabbath. And I want to plead with you in the time I'm going to be speaking, and I want you to put away every barrier in your heart and just listen to me. I want you to put away the cares of the week, put away the burdens that you brought. Put them all away and listen. Because if you do not get this message, it doesn't matter how long you have been an Adventist. It doesn't matter how long you have been a Christian. It doesn't matter how long you have been going to church. If you do not understand this message, you have been coming in vain. Today I need someone in the house to understand that church is not about just showing up every Saturday because we have to. I want our young people to go away today knowing that you are not here simply because your parents have brought you. You are here for a particular reason, and that is to be in His presence. I want you to know this afternoon that the church is all about being in the presence of God. And let me tell you, if God is not here, this is just a building. I want someone to understand today that the church of God is not the property we bought. Hello, someone. The church of God is not the well-painted facade of this building. The church of God is the presence of God in this place. If we take away His presence, this is just as good as a cinema. Listen, if we come every Sabbath and the Lord is not here, this is nothing but a mere get-together. So ask the neighbor for me, why are you here? I want to speak about something that is so vital to our Christian life. Because the truth is that many Sabbaths, in fact, Sabbath after Sabbath, we present ourselves before God and we go to our different churches, but then we go home after the service and nothing has changed in our lives. We go home, and if the truth be told, you have not caught a glimpse of God throughout the service. It is unfortunate that today so many churches open their doors, but the doors of their hearts are shut to the presence of God. And that is why we say prayers and they are not answered. We sing songs and the Lord is not glorified. And we go away and then we give a bad testimony that God is not doing anything in this day and age. Because I want to submit to you today that every time we are truly in the presence of God, something miraculous must happen. Hello, someone. So let me ask you, does something miraculous happen in your church Sabbath after Sabbath? If it doesn't, then I submit to you that the presence of God is not there Sabbath after Sabbath. Listen, this is not a message that I read up. This week, as I waited on the Spirit of God, the Spirit of God lambasted me and chastised me until I understood this message. It's a chapter I've read times and times over, but this week, as I read it, the Spirit of God opened up my mind and I saw what the Spirit was speaking to me personally. What I want to attempt to do this afternoon is to let you see perhaps a glimpse of what the Spirit has shown me this week. Chapter 34 talks about a time in the story of the Israelites. Whilst they were still around the Mount Hebron, and it had happened just previously to this chapter that the Lord had called Moses to come up to him in the mount. He had given, and the Lord had written with his own hands the 10 Commandments, giving it to to take down to the people, but alas, when Moses got down to the bottom of Hebron, he found the people that he had left in holiness. He found them in idolatry. But he left them praising God, but he found them praising an idol. And then Moses in anger broke the 10 commandments that he had written. And the Lord was so angry that the Lord said that he was going to do away with the children of Israel. But Moses interceded before God and he said, God, I want you to rather remove my name from the book of life if you will destroy these people. And it was also in the previous chapter we will see Moses pleading with God, God, show me your glory that I may see your face. And God says to Moses that, no one can see my face and live. But in order not to disappoint him, God says to Moses, but nonetheless, I will call you up to the mountain, and then I will hide you behind the cleft of the rock. Then I will pass before you, and you will see my backside, but you cannot see my face. And then we come to chapter 34. And the Lord said to Moses again, hew thee again 2 stones, 2 tables of stone like unto the first. And I will write again upon these tables the words that were in the first table that I wrote before, which you broke. Saints of God, there are 4 things I want to share with us about worship today and being in the presence of God. 4 things that I want to share with you, and I pray that the Spirit of God will help me to convey the message to you today. Number 1, I want to talk to you about preparing for worship. Then I want to speak to you about presenting yourselves for worship. Then I want to talk about participating in worship. And lastly, I want to speak to you about profiting from worship. Saints of God, if you get these 4 things, your devotional life will never be the same again. So let's look at preparing for worship. In verse 2 of this chapter, God says, and be ready in the morning, and come up in the morning unto Mount Sinai, and present thyself there to me in the top of the mountain. There's some few things I want to share with you about preparing yourself for worship. The first thing I want you to know is that God says to Moses, be ready. Is someone with me today? And I know it is also some of us are tempted to speak. Please, help your neighbor and say, be ready. God says to Moses, be ready. And I want everyone in the house to know today that you cannot just stumble through the church door on the Sabbath morning without making preparation. Listen to me. God says to Moses, be ready. I want you to know that you cannot turn up in church as if you are turning up for work. You can't turn up in church as if you are turning up for a party. You cannot turn up in church as if you are turning up in a gym. God says, are you ready? A lot of people spend all their lives going to church without being blessed because they go without being ready. Listen, if you are not ready for what you are going to do in worship, nothing will come your way. Many times you sing the song, let it fall on me. But I want you to know that the Spirit of God might be raining blessings and you will be in the midst of it and you will be dry. Because you are not ready. And the Spirit of God says to me this week that when you contemplate being ready for worship, there are some things you have to think about. The Spirit of God says to me that you must make your heart ready. You must make your body ready. You must make your mouth ready. And as I think about this, I reflected on the word of the psalmist in Psalm 51 also, where David says that, a broken and a contrite spirit, thou will not despise. I want you to know that every time as you contemplate worship, your heart must be ready for the presence of God. Listen to me, no one can come before God and your heart heart is not ready. So many times we come into this sanctuary and our hearts are still weighed down by the troubles of the week. Our hearts are still weighed down by the sinfulness of our week. Listen, if the truth be told, many of us, we are not who we are on the Sabbath day, the same person we have from Monday to Friday. But if you know you are going to church on Saturday, the Spirit of God says to me, make your heart ready to be in my presence. Confess every known sin. Please, if you are coming to church and you get to the door and you remember that you have not confessed your sin and you are not ready to behold God, go back into your car and pray for forgiveness and then come through the door. Make your heart ready. The Spirit of God says to me this week, that our heart must be ready, it must be pure, it must be open, and it must be repentant. So it doesn't matter how bad the week has been, when Friday is approaching, spend some time to prepare your heart for worship. And then the Bible, the Spirit of God also says to me this week, make your body ready to receive me in worship. Do you realize that many of us, and I've noted this, every year when we have the convention, the sisters will go shopping. Not because the dresses are finished in their wardrobe, but because the banquet is coming and they want to present themselves elegantly more than they did last year. That is one time in the year when you start to see different colors of eyeshadow. Sisters to put on mascaras. The foundation will be built up upon by different kind of layers. And at times you see some of the sisters, you don't even recognize them again because they are trying to present themselves for the banquet. God says to me, the same effort you make in preparing yourself for the party, spending the time to prepare yourself to meet me in worship. Don't live in your house. But if your house is like my house, many times we spend hours getting ourselves ready for that party. But when Saturday comes, we just look in our wardrobe, pick whatever we can grab, and we are going to the presence of God. Which one of you will be invited to Buckingham Palace and you will not make some effort? I want you to know, many of us, we are already passing it on to our children. People come through these doors dressed better on a party day than they do on the Sabbath day. God says, prepare your body to receive me. Have a good wash. Clean those teeth. Manicure those fingers.